First play of the game, we're going blind pig.
We're going to go blind pig.
Blind pig, yeah.
So I'm also a big fan of the blind pig action.
The only reason we're running this action now is because he wanted to say blind pig and look cool.
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the Blind Pig podcast. It was another awesome week for Super League basketball. And even though we only had 3 games, we're here to break down all of the games, all the big storylines, and all the drama both on and off the court. But before we get into that, we are on a journey to hit 500 subs before the end of the year. So make sure you smash the like button, hit subscribe, drop comments below. It's the thing that's going to help us beat the algorithm and reach and make new British basketball fans. That being said, let's get down into it. We're going to start off by talking about a team that is universally loved across SLB right now, the Bristol Flyers. This past weekend, they improved their record to 3-1 with a 96-66 win over the Surrey 89ers. This was all capped off by an amazing triple-double by Cam Holden. Just look at the difference in how Cam Holden is playing right now and his attitude both on and off the court. And it's never been more exemplified between the difference in how he's looking in podcasts that he's doing. Take a look at this clip in the recent Bristol Flyers podcast compared to how he was on In the Knicks.
So I want to apologize for the team and also for my performance that we shouldn't do that at home, especially when people like kids are coming and everybody coming to watch us. So we just got to be better, and down the road we'll be better.
I got a lot of gear, most that I got more than Cheshire. The coaching style, I definitely like all the coaches. The coaches, Coach K treated me like his son like when I first met him. So like I'm big on that. And I feel like I got 10 brothers with me, which is rare on an overseas professional team. You know, usually you got your group with like 3 guys hang together, this 2 hang together. On this squad, I feel like I got like 10 guys that's my brothers. So that's rare. And you could tell on the court that we all get along with each other. So that's a difference.
One of the most scary things is that Cam Holden was on the Bristol Flyers podcast just a few days before talking about his triple-double potential, about his appetite to want to get it, how his statistician's going to let him know when he's close. And he took that and ran with it and went out and in the very next game delivered an awesome triple-double, dropping 16 points, 10 boards and 10 assists. And that last assist to Malcolm Delpesh for a dunk, chef's kiss and great play by Coach Kapoulas. On the podcast, Cam also made it clear with the things that he didn't say in terms of the reason why he chose to come to Bristol. And it was in thanks in no small part to the coaching staff. And it's one of the reasons that these Bristol-Cheshire games are some of the most spicy games to watch in the upcoming SLB season. But it wasn't just Cam. Will Yoakum had another really impressive game, leading all scorers with 19. And he did it on multiple levels. He hit outside shots. He went to the rim with confidence. Will Yoakum is looking like a really, really great player and dangerous scorer inside of the SLB. And to be honest, the whole team's looking pretty awesome. If I just break down their starting 5, in the starting lineup, you have this silky smooth point guard in Joe Anderson. He's playing really aggressively, great with the ball, really, really strong defensively. Against the Surrey 89ers, he did have his shooting wobbles. He went 0 for 5 from 3 and only 2 from 10 overall. But he was still a plus 35 on the night. You've got the athletic 2 guard in Will Yoakum, nice outside shots, good athletic finishes at the rim. But he's not dominating the ball. He's getting his shots in flow with the rest of the team and in the system that Bristol have set up. Then you move into Cam Holden, their athletic wing, their wild card, but who can also run the offense and really make the most we saw in Surrey against those mismatches down low. I think Cam Holden's ability to operate out of the post, both to score and to pass, is a real hidden gem and a fantastic find for the Bristol Flyers. On the other wing, obviously we have Zach Anderson, a lethal 3-point shooter who can heat up at any given time. He didn't have the biggest game against Surrey, but he genuinely didn't need to because everyone else was scoring so well. Add in Darnell Brodie, big body there at the centre, and he's someone who can both play physical and has some awesome passes out the post. Add in JB as a spark plug off the bench. He hit some huge threes in this game, had a monster poster dunk. And also Marcus Delpesh being solid and reliable. It's hard not to enjoy Bristol Flyer basketball. And Surrey had their work cut out for them. All night long they were getting destroyed in the pick and roll. Bristol last year only won 13 out of 32 games in the Championship. If they carry on at the pace they're on right now, they're going to surpass that total by January. For Surrey, the home team, their shooting percentage fell off a cliff in this game. They shot overall 34% from the field and just 26% from deep. That's worlds apart from where they were against Manchester, both in terms of competitiveness and also just in terms of how effective they were shooting from the fields. For both teams, Bristol and for Surrey, their next game is against Caledonia. And it'll be important for both teams for different reasons. For Bristol to try and keep their momentum rolling and get that next win. And for Surrey, a win against Caledonia really puts them back on track and keeps them fighting in kind of that midfield of the SLB. Alternatively though, Caledonia are still winless and really will be fighting hard in those games and really making them a tough match as they try to get their first win of the season. Moving on into the Manchester versus Leicester game. Leicester had a full week to integrate Raekwon Battle and they looked better as a team and more cohesive, even being without Nate Martin, who had an injury and couldn't suit up for them when they played Manchester. Raekwon Battle is a tough shot maker. He hit some insane layups in this game. His jump shot looked really nice and was flowing. Overall on the night, he scored 21 points, 8 rebounds. And actually in the game, it was Leicester who went on an early run and were up against the Manchester side. But you have to say that Ozoboyan for Manchester was a tone changer in the game. He got into it with Leicester's Suleiman. And it's not the first time, to be honest, that Suleiman's sort of had a little bit of friction on the court with other players. But after a big-time layup, he let Suleiman know about it. And then he absolutely crushed an alley-oop on all of the Leicester team's head. And he let Leicester know about it. I love Darren Routledge on the call. But it's absolute blasphemy that he's there calling for a technical or warning for a technical for Ozoboyan. He just dicks someone. Let him have his moment. No technicals needed at all. Great entertainment. Want to see more of that. For both sides, they went blow to blow. And when we started the fourth, it was 59-54 to Manchester. And the sides were evenly trucking along until a huge Flynn Boardman Rathé 3, which put Leicester in the lead 64-63. But from that point on, after the score, so from 7:53 in the fourth quarter, all the way through to 2:32, so pretty much 5 minutes plus, Leicester didn't score a single point. And when you watch the game back, it's not just that they're getting good shots and they're not falling. There are some genuinely bad plays inside of there that Leicester are running. Some disjointed plays, too much ISO ball, very uncharacteristic of a Rob Paternostro coached Leicester Riders team. By that point, Manchester was up and running and everyone was on board of the Max Jones train. He hit a bunch of different layups, then hit a dagger 3. I think this game really told us something about Leicester's depth and their ability to create shots as a team and just how lacking it is. You look at that crucial 5-minute gap in the fourth quarter where they don't score. I think that points to actually they need to go back to a few more of their set plays. They're rookies and potentially nervous in some of those tight late game situations, and something that really has to be resolved moving forward, where we know in the SLB there are a lot of tight, close games and players need to perform. We also learned something about Duke Shelton, who got moved into the starting lineup due to the Nate Martin injury. He only played 10 minutes in this game, and a large part of that was because A, foul trouble, but also he got himself a stupid technical and picked up his fourth, and he just seemed unplayable. There were portions where they really needed him to help guard against Matt Nicholson and other big-time players, but Duke Shelton made himself unavailable. Leicester have now fallen to 0-4, and they should be worried. They've got a week now to kind of lick their wounds off and try and get clean, but they face Newcastle on the 17th, and you've got to think that has to be a big, big game for them to try and get their first win of the season. Already, we're seeing fan discords online starting to say just how bad is this team and really starting to lose heart in what they could be compared to the hugely successful season that they had last year. On the other side, Manchester throughout the summer did a phenomenal job on all of the socials and really building up the hype for Manchester basketball this season. But if I'm honest, I'm left kind of feeling underwhelmed over their performance in the last 2 games. I think their first initial game against Cheshire was fantastic and everything you wanted it to be. But their games since then, losing to Surrey and narrowly beating Leicester, have just left me wondering Who is this team? What is their identity? And that's really what we've seen throughout the first game. In their first game against Cheshire, it felt that it was a real Kyan Cleary-led team with lots of kind of tough but makeable jump shots for him. The second game against Surrey was all PJ Smith, who dropped 34 in that one. And it felt much more guard-orientated, lots more sort of heavy drag screens and pick and rolls. And in this third game, there was a little bit of Ossaboyan and Max Jones, but also we saw the emergence of Jordan Johnson, who probably for the first time made an actual impact on the game. Really was a spark plug off the bench, providing lots and lots of scoring. But the problem is they have lots of weapons that just haven't come together as a cohesive team just yet. And to be honest, Ossaboyan's not massively helping, wanting to dominate every offensive possession. For me, it was their talent that carried them in this game, rather than the game plan or execution. As a team now, they have a huge chunk of time. They don't play again until the 26th of October, which is straight up ridiculous that they essentially have all of October off. Like in that same time span, Cheshire's going to play 3 times before Manchester plays their next game. But hopefully they use that time to get their reps in, become a bit more familiar with themselves as a team, and really establish an identity as to what Manchester basketball is all about. And now to the final game, where Sheffield won versus Caledonia, 77-71. And I have so many thoughts about this game, and I'm going to try and start off positive. So the positive is that for Sheffield, Dirk Williams is an absolute godsend, and in this game he was calm and controlled, and he was really the difference maker. What we saw is him getting to rim really at ease and finishing really well, but also Dirk Williams did a fantastic job in this game, where I don't think he has as much in other games, but in this one he really recognised when he had a mismatch, and he really exploited that, whether that was blowing by someone to get to the rim, or really utilising his nice step-back jumper from 3, from mid-range. He looked much more confident, really explosive, and a really dynamic scorer for the Sheffield Sharks. That's who Sheffield expected when they signed Dirk Williams, and if he can keep up that level of productivity and continue to be a threat to score for Sheffield, that's going to be a huge win for them throughout the season. Secondly, for Sheffield, Jalen Deloach went down for an injury. Prayers up for Jalen Deloach. It looked quite serious. He had the walking boot on. He had crutches. Hopefully he makes a swift recovery. But Jalen Deloach's injury and absence meant that Mike Ocherobia had to step up. And being really honest, I've been pretty negative about Mike Ocherobia, both as a fan and on this show. But you know what? Mike Ocherobia proved me wrong. He did a damn good job against Caledonia. He was really working hard, and he was solid defensively, and for the large part, he defended without fouling. Now, Kevin Allen still got his, but actually Mike Ocherobia made him work hard for it and was a big body to really put against him. And he was good offensively as well. He hit a couple of nice post moves, he was big on the boards, recycled the board. Mike Ocherobia really soaked up the minutes that was left through the Jalen Deloach injury, and I think he played really well for Sheffield in this game. Also a positive, Mike Tuck was back on the call. Now, I'll move from the good to the bad here, and it's kind of intertwined. Why is it so good that Mike Tuck was back on the call? Because Bob Ballard's commentary is absolutely infuriating on the DAZN broadcast for Sheffield. We're lucky to have Mike Tuck there, because honestly, every second sentence he's having to correct Bob on a player's name, on what's happened, on a simple basketball term. At one point, Dirk Williams went to go shoot a technical free throw, and Bob Ballard was chatting about how he's finishing off an and one play. What the hell is he chatting about? He had said a few seconds earlier, there's a technical foul, they'll shoot a free throw, and not 10 seconds later, the guy's already forgotten why someone's shooting a free throw. Sheffield deserve better than Bob Ballard on the play-by-play for this, and Mike Tuck brings a real sense of sensibility, of basketball knowledge, of really being able to talk to what is happening on the play. And even worse than Bob Ballard on the call, we have to talk about the refs in this game. They were dog shit, absolute dog shit, and never so much more than in the third quarter. Throughout the whole game, the referees had missed some obvious plays, but this sequence in the third was completely mind-blowing. And it all hinges on this play at 3:14 left in the third quarter, where Jet Spielman is actively fighting for an offensive rebound, and the ref calls an offensive foul, so i.e. Jet Spielman has fouled. In this case, the referees say Dirk Williams, putting Caledonia on their 4th team foul. We go down the other end and the play ensues, and eventually Jordan Ratinho charges into Carl Jimenez and an offensive foul is called. During the break in play, something happens, someone signals to the referee and says that Jet Spielman has also fouled Nick Kern on the rebounds. Absolutely impossible, but that's what it says on the stats. Somehow, in jumping for a rebound in a single play, Jet Spielman has fouled 2 players and picked up 2 fouls and therefore put Caledonia at the limits. Johnny Bunyan, rightfully so, is absolutely furious at the referees, and you can hear him on the call saying, "We can't keep playing games like this if these 3 people don't know what they're doing." And he's 100% right. You can't on one single play pick up 2 fouls. It just doesn't happen. It's impossible. And what happens? Nick Kern gets to go to the line to shoot 2 free foul shots. Adding insult to injury, on the very next play, Nick Kern is steaming down the lane. Nick Kern played really, really well. On this particular play though, he's steaming down the middle of the lane and does one of the most obvious offensive fouls I've ever seen and just pushes off with his arm and scores the layup. The referees don't call shit. And so, of course, Johnny Bunyan has to react and pick up a technical for his team. Just in that sequence, it's given Sheffield, an extra 4-5 points. If Dirk Williams hit the technical, an extra 6 points. It's absolutely crazy that the referees were so confused that it let it get to this sort of situation. And it naturally has an impact on Caledonia and how they're going to approach the game. For me, that tech has to be rescinded. Johnny Bunyan was right to lose his shit. And to be honest, there should have been more emphasis placed on the statistician team and the referees to really try and resolve that issue. On the call, as you would expect, Bob Bullard had absolutely no idea what was happening. But it was poor all round. And to be honest, it was kind of emblematic of the game. Although Sheffield got the win, and I'm really happy about that, as a basketball product, it was not a shining example of what the SLB could and should be. Caledonia is fighting really hard for their first win this season, and I think it's got to come soon. Kevin Allen was huge in the game, not just with post moves, but also hitting some outside shots and really carrying a struggling Caledonia team during the first half, putting them on his back in terms of leading them with scoring. They chose in the second half to move away from Kevin Allen's post moves in favour of some of their other players, and we started to see flashes of life from players like Ragsdale and Ethan Wright. But more of their imports need to step up for Caledonia to get their first win. I'm talking to you, Williams. I'm talking to you, Ryan Holdens. 6 points between the both of them with a combined 35 minutes plus on a absolutely mind-numbing 2 for 13 shooting. Their other imports have to contribute for Caledonia to have a chance to win this season and to avoid that 9th spot in the championship. This weekend, we have another huge SLB weekend with 3 games coming up. Make sure you follow us on the socials to hear all about our predictions and other SLB content. Catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.
First play of the game, we're going blind pig.
We're going to go blind pig.
Blind pig, yeah. No, I'm also a big fan of the blind pig action.
The only reason we're running this action now is because you wanted to say blind pig.